We are live. Welcome to the weekly live of Annie's Flock. In this live, we're going to be talking about treats for your parrots. That's the topic that has been chosen in the poll on my Instagram page and on YouTube. So there's nobody here. So while I'm waiting to have people come on to the live and talk about the actual subject or topic, just a quick reminder, I go live every Saturday from 10 to 10:30 Pacific time, and 24 to 48 hours before the live, so we're talking about Thursday, Friday, I post on my YouTube channel under the post tab a poll with 3 options of topic for the next live that you can vote for. And I post the same poll on my Instagram, in my Instagram stories, the Annie's Flock Instagram. And if you're not following there, then you can check on in the description box of the live, and you'll see the link for my Instagram page. If you don't forget to subscribe, because you'll see all of this stuff happening on the channel. All right. So was there something else I wanted to say about this? I don't think so. Okay, so let's get on to the topic of treats for parrots. So for birds, or for parrots more specifically. Couple of things. So I brought some treats with me, and I have some notes of things that I would like to cover, how to choose which treats you could use for your birds, what are treats, how often you should use them, how to use them, example of treats for your parrots, testing your treats, why you should test your treats for your parrots. There's a lot of things to talk about when it comes to treats for parrots. So, okay. So let's start with, what is a treat for a parrot? So basically, a treat can be a lot of different things, but it's mostly a food that is high in calorie, either high in fat or high in sugar, because mostly this is what parrots prefer. And this is something that you don't want to give part of their regular diet, because in the wild they eat all of this, but they fly all day long in search of this, right? In captivity, they don't. My birds, they do fly quite a bit, but it's nothing compared to flying in the wild miles and miles and miles against the wind and all of that, right? So in captivity, you want to restrict a little bit those type of treats for your parrots, because it's too high in calorie, but they really like those. So because they really like those, because they really like those, you can use them to your advantage, right? But without having those treats part of their regular diet. I'm going to give you an example for humans, right? I personally love cake, right? Am I going to eat cake for breakfast, lunch, dinner all the time? No, I'm not, because it's not healthy. I won't be able to function properly. My body is not going to be able to handle all that cake. And eventually I'm going to have some health issues related to this unhealthy diet, right? So it's the same thing for your birds. There's some foods that they can still eat, but in moderation, because if they eat only this or too much of it, then it's going to give, they're going to end up with health issues, and we don't want that, right? So example of what could be a treat, and that is different for every parrots. Not only every different types of parrots, but in the same species, I struggle with that word. Like, for example, I have two budgies. Well, maybe my two budgies, they don't have the same taste, right? Like two humans, we don't necessarily have the same taste. Same thing for two conures or two Indian ringneck or two macaws or whatever, right? So example of treats could be sunflower seeds, safflower seeds. It could be, I have some example here, pine nuts. I have walnuts. I have almonds. I have pecans. I have this here, spray millet, my budgie's favorite. So really, there's all kinds. So those are the main one that I personally use for my parrots, but there are also other options like fruits, for example. So most of the parrots shouldn't have fruits in their regular diet. It should be only in their fresh food, only mostly veggies, but no fruits. The reason why is because fruits are very high in sugar. So again, a lot of calories in that, and it can lead to liver disease, just like if they just eat fat foods, right? So you could use fruits if your bird really likes fruits a lot. Mine, not really. It's not a big thing for them. Sometimes my Indian ringneck, like a little piece of banana or strawberry, but she's not. My birds in general, they're not huge fans of fruits. So for me, nuts and seeds works better. But if your parrot is really like just love fruits or used to have fruits in their regular diet, then you can use these as treats for different situations. And this is how I'm going to get into it as to how to use your treats with your parrots. I'm just going to, I need my glasses to look out if there's any questions in there. I can see a few comments. Oh, hi, Victoria, BC. I'm located in BC too, but not in Victoria. Far away from there. Okay, so I'm going to look at the comments once in a while to see if there's any questions about the topic. I'm going to stay only half an hour on this live. We already have almost 10 minutes in, and I really want to get that into, I really want to get all that information in. So if you have any questions about the topic, please do not hesitate, but I'm going to stay more on focus here. Okay, so how to use these treats with your parrots. So, well, first off, it's really good for training. So if you want to train your parrot to do anything, treats are really good for that. And you should, and on the channel, I have lots of videos on training. You can look at those. And for those, when you're teaching tricks, when you're in trainings in a training session, you want to use small treats. And that kind of depends on the bird that you have as well, right? So for my budgies, they don't eat any of the nuts. It's too big for them. So I really just go with spray millet. I don't use the whole thing. I'm going to cut it off in little pieces so that they don't see the whole thing when I train them. Otherwise, they're going to want to eat the whole thing. And one other thing I wanted to say about treats is that you don't want to use the treats So once you decided this is a treat, it's only a treat. You use it with purpose. So for example, spring millets, I will never put spring millet in my budgies cage because my budgies were pretty scared to get out of their cage when I got them. They were pet store budgies, so they didn't want to really venture anywhere. So this here is only used by me. So when I want them to come to me, when I train them, when I want them to do something, I'm going to give them spring millet. And they love it. It's their favorite, right? But they will never have spring millet in their cage because it's so reinforcing, and I don't want to reinforce that behavior of them just staying in there. I want them to do things, to explore, to fly, right? To be with me, to have that connection. So spring millet is only going to be used to this. So it's really important to use your treat with purpose. What do you want to do? What do you want to accomplish? How to use it, right? So now, when you train your parrot, you want to use something quite small. So like I'm going to show you. If I have like a little sunflower seed, like it's super tiny and it's out of the shell already. You don't want to have it to dig in, right? You want it to be fast enough so that you keep the momentum during your training session. So for example, if I have almonds, my conure doesn't like almonds, but my Indian ringneck do. I'm not going to pick a whole piece. So what I have is those little like slice of almonds, and I'm even going to cut it in half. Sometimes in 3 little pieces. You want it to be as tiny as possible because it's just easier that way. And they don't get as full fast, right? Because if your bird gets super full, like in the first, 3 minutes of the training, then they will lose that food motivation, and you don't want that to happen. So same thing for walnut and pecan. Then the pieces are super small, right? I have really tiny pieces. So it really depends on what you want to accomplish. Now, when you give bigger pieces, also, how can I put this together? There's a way of using bigger pieces of treats in some occasions. So for example, if I'm training my conure or my Indian ringneck to go into their bird carrier or backpack, and if I want to train to get them to stay longer in it, then I'm going to use a bigger treat because I want them to stay in there and eat their treats and realize, oh, I'm not stuck here. Oh, it's fine. Oh, I'm okay, right? To be more desensitized to that environment and to eventually like it. So I wouldn't give the whole thing, but my conure and my Indian ringnecks, they do love this, but it's really hard to train. I find it's harder to train anything else, like tricks with them, it's hard. But if I remove just that little ball, you know how it's all like little balls there? If I remove a few, and then, or station also, if you're trying to get your bird to stay on a stand, they just fly to you all the time. You have them to stay on that stand or whatever, or stay in the backpack and give them that little like ball of seeds. They're going to hold it with their feet, their foot, and then they're just going to eat at it. And it takes longer to eat a little ball like this, right, than a little sunflower seed like that. So we're working on time here to get your parrot to stay longer, to enjoy that space longer, instead of going from like a trick, step up, again and again and again, right? You could do the same kind of thing with like a bigger treat as well, but I find this here. I just said how it's called. No, I can't remember. Sprinillet. Easier for that. The other thing is, my conure, for example, Olive, she hated being in her cage. It's still not her favorite. She always wants to be with me and be outside of her cage. Fair enough. I get it. But sometimes if I have to go to work or whatever, it's time sensitive. She needs to go back in her cage for whatever reason and quick. I need to be able to put her back in without any struggle. And the way I can accomplish this is by giving her special treats. So my conure, Olive, she loves pine nuts and pecan and walnuts. Those are her favorites. And I'm going to talk a little bit later of how you can test this, okay? So those are her favorites right now. Sometimes it changes, but right now her favorites is pine nuts, walnuts, and pecan. So what I do is every time I put her back in her cage, she gets one of those. She doesn't get these treats for any other reasons. So I never have an issue to put her back in her cage anymore because she knows she's going to get one of those, right? Those are special treats for something that it's very difficult for me to get her to do. Sometimes if I'm trying to train her with something, either a trick or something that she's scared of to be desensitized, and we don't have a breakthrough, I'm gonna get the power treats. So I'm gonna show you. I have treats all over the house, by the way, so that I'm ready. But I have treats in two different pouches here. Those are my regular treats, and those are my powerful treats. And parrots are so smart. They know, and they see colors very well as well, even better than us. So when I get this pouch out and they see me dig into that pouch, they know that there's something special. They might have to do something special to get that. So sometimes to be able to get a breakthrough in the training or whatever I'm trying to accomplish with them, I'm going to pull that yellow pouch with the amazing special treats, which are pine nuts, pecans, and walnuts. They are a little bit bigger than my regular treats, and they're like super treats for them. What else did I wanted to talk about on how to use treats? Foraging as well. If your bird doesn't know how to forage and how to play with toys, you can hide treats in it. That's another good way to use the treats. And I'm talking about nuts here, but you can totally use fruits or whatever. Whatever your bird prefers. I'm going to take a little sip of water. I feel like I'm talking a lot right now. And you can use that. Now, other thing, how you can use it is if you want to capture something, a behavior that you want to see more of. Just going to look at the time. Okay. So, for example, if you want your bird to vocalize some words or a specific sound more than others, because we all know parrots are loud, and when they're too loud, it can be really annoying. Their contact call is usually so loud. My Indian ringneck particular, well, and my conure too, their contact call is like out of this world. So if you want to hear more, like a different type of vocalization, it's good to reward this behavior. So if you hear like a word or a sound that you like and you want more of this, you reinforce this. So by having treats a little bit everywhere in your house, in like little containers or a little pouch like this or whatever. That way, as soon as you hear that sound that you want them to vocalize more or that word or whatever, you can use a bridging word like I like to use good job and then reward. You can use the clicker and click, but the clicker needs to be exactly at that time. And if you're not necessarily close enough and have the clicker close enough, you won't have the time to click at the specific time. And then your bird is just going to be like, why is she clicking? Like, what have I done? Right? I find the bridging word is not as precise, but it helps sometimes when you're not just waiting in front of your parrot, waiting for the behavior to happen. Because that's a way, capturing is a way to do this. You can just have your bird there and wait for them to do something you want, and then you click and you reward, right? But you can also do this casually when you hear them say something or vocalize whatever, good job, and you reward, right? So this is going to encourage that specific behavior, and they will see, because when they contact call or whatever, it's usually, not always, but usually it's because they want your attention, right? So by giving them a treat, one, they get your attention and they get a treat. So it's like a double whammy. So when you hear that vocalization or that word that you want or whatever, they and then you reward them, well, they get your attention and they get a reward. So it's super reinforcing to them. They're just going to try to do it again and again. And sometimes it can, I mean, this takes time, but it can get to, it can replace that contact call that we usually don't really enjoy. So that's another way you can use traits for a behavior that you want your bird to do. What else? I think on how to use it, that's pretty much it. Now I want to talk about how can you know what your parrot like for a treat, right? Sometimes we just know because that, so for example, my Indian ringneck, she came with food that was basically just treats. So it was like a bag of nuts and fruits and whatever, like dry fruits. So it was basically just a big bag of treats. So I knew that for her, nuts would be a big thing. And I could see what she was like eating first as well out of the whole package. Now, at the beginning, it was very, very difficult for me to be able to train her because I had to kind of wean her out of that non-healthy diet. But because my conure really likes pine nuts, I barely have any. I have to replenish this. I tried it because it wasn't part of her regular diet. Pine nuts are quite expensive, so I guess that makes sense that it wasn't part of the diet. And she really liked it, so that kind of saved me in a sense. So I've been able to still train her and get to, you know, work on our connection and relationship while she was still on an unhealthy diet. But then, now that she's on a healthy diet, which is like I use in the morning, it's a fresh chop. I use the seasonal feeding system from Bird Tricks. Shout out to Bird Tricks. You want to check them out. They're awesome. And then for their second meal is pellets from Tup's Parrots pellets. So now that she's on a healthy diet, I mean, anything that is a seed or a nut, safflower seed, she loves it too, but safflower seeds, I'm using it mostly to forage for her. So that way, like, because she wasn't foraging at all. She wasn't playing with toys. She wasn't doing anything when I first got her. So it was easy for me to use any type of she loves them all, like really. But she does have some favorites, which are quite similar to Olive, actually. So both of my parrots, my bigger parrots, Budgies, it's prey millet. They're crazy about that. But both of my parrots, Olive and Lucy, my Indian ringneck, the nuts that I'm using, it's a little bit, they have similar taste, but a little bit different. So testing your treats. If you know that your parrot loves something from the get-go, but shouldn't be in their regular diet, you can totally use that. Absolutely, 100%. If you don't know what your parrot likes and you feel like they don't like anything, you have to test it. So I do actually have a video about testing your treats, how to do that. I'm actually doing demonstration with Lucy and with Olive in that video. So what I'm going to do is when the live is going to be downloaded onto the channel, I will, at the end of the live, I will put the, like at the end of a video, you can click on videos or whatever. I will do the same thing. So I'm going to link that video at the end. So you'll be able to go into the replay, and you don't have to rewatch the whole thing, but you can go to the end and you'll be able to click on that video, and it's going to bring you to the video on where I demonstrate how to test the treats. But it's really important to know which treat is a power treat and which one is just like a regular treat, right? So by testing it and having, anyways, you'll look at the video, but basically you're having your bird choose the treats from like a group of treats, and then you just put them down, like the first one that they pick, the second, the third, whatever. Sometimes you'll realize that you thought something was a treat and your bird's like, meh, I don't even want it. So for example, Olive doesn't like almond at all. Every time, and those tests, by the way, you have to do them regularly. Not every week, but every few months, I want to say, because it changes a little bit. Sometimes like our taste, we don't eat the same thing, and we don't always like the same thing the best. Sometimes we're craving something else, right? So it's a little bit the same for birds. But Olive does not like, I'm still testing it when I do the testing, but every single time she leaves the almond at the end and she doesn't even touch it. I'm not joking. Like, she won't even touch it. She's just gonna leave it there and ignore the almond. She doesn't like it. Lucy loves it. It's part of her top favorites, I want to say. But Olive doesn't like it at all. So if you're trying to get your bird motivated to do something with a treat that they don't like, then you're not helping yourself. You know what I mean? Like, it's just not going to work. And most of the parrots are food motivated, because this is in the wild. That's what they do. They just look for food all the time. That's their primer. This is their primer motivation to do anything, right? Most of them, not all of them. I actually just saw someone that knows a lot about cockatoos. I don't have cockatoos. I think I don't have the space for it. I don't have the lifestyle for it. Those are very, I do believe that cockatoos have specific needs. Let's just put it that way. And apparently cockatoos are sometimes not so food motivated. Sometimes environment, noise, energy, excitement, whatever, is actually more reinforcing than treats. So it's just part of who they are. So also you have to know a little bit your parrot, because sometimes treats isn't really the first reinforcer. But generally speaking, typically speaking, treats are the thing, right? All right, so we are at 30-minute mark, so I'm going to end this live. I hope you enjoyed it and found some interesting thing about it, that you learned something. Hopefully you did. If you haven't, well, maybe you'll learn something next time. So don't forget to subscribe and watch this page for the next live and the poll, and to vote for your favorite topic, what you want me to talk about. Also, if you would like me to bring a bird on the live, it may be a little bit chaotic, but if you would like to see my birds on the live, let me know in the comments, and I will bring a bird on the live next time. All right, I'll see you next week. Okay, bye guys.